From my travels, it seems to be anyone from Scandinavia, but they just seem the happiest bunch.
This is a happy country because I'm generally a very happy person, and people that I go around with and my friends and family I'd like to think were as well. Goodness, I'd like to think that most countries, or if not all countries, are happy.
I'd always thought it would be the really hot countries for some reason, but then I found out it was actually places like Denmark and Norway.
Gross domestic product, GDP, is the usual measure of a country's health. So why is it that countries like the US, Germany and China, which are some of the richest countries in the world, don't even feature in the top 10 in a recent report of countries' happiness around the world? The World Happiness Report uses a mixture of income, social support, healthy life expectancy and freedom of choice. Generally a good mix of subjective and objective measures. But there are other factors to consider when evaluating happiness.
Spending time with my friends.
When I'm making music, I feel like I'm happy.
Knowing that I've got somewhere to go to sleep tonight, knowing that I've got a job.
Being in company with your friends and family and those ones that make you laugh.
If I'm feeling sad, I always put music on, and I think music's my big thing about feeling happy.
As well as the resources that people have access to, it's important to examine their ability to convert those resources into the things they value. In some situations, what people are able to do is very important. For example, the ability to plan ahead and provide leadership seem to be related both to income and life satisfaction. And the same applies to risk factors. People in some social groups can find things more difficult. So for example, women controlling for income seem to feel less safe in their local neighbourhoods. And likewise, people from ethnic groups that face a higher risk of being discriminated against in the workplace have markedly lower levels of life satisfaction.
The sunshine makes me really happy.
I find skiing really fast and adrenaline. I get an adrenaline rush from that.
Travelling around the world. Eating really nice food.
The ability to be creative.
Maybe going out on a picnic if it's a summer day.
I like to go for walks around the Peak District, things like that.
Taking pictures, not of myself.
So comparing what different countries value can be revealing. In the US, people report being able to socialise more readily with others at work. In many areas of life, men tend to do better than women in the US and the UK. People in the UK report being able to better access health services than their counterparts in the US. And this probably reflects the fact that healthcare is mostly free in the UK. However, in the US, relative to other capabilities there, people report being able to get help from the police more easily. In both the US and the UK, having people's rubbish cleared away is one of the things that gets done most effectively. It seems a curious chart topper until we recognise that it's comparatively simple to deliver and easy to identify the local political actors who are ultimately responsible when things go wrong. In Italy, where it's significantly harder for people to get their waste disposed of, this may reflect the fact that there are much shorter political terms, and that makes it harder to call local politicians to account. However, integrating these subjective indicators into an overarching framework of happiness and progress is not easy. How do you compare your social relations with being able to get your rubbish cleared away? In quality of life terms, both matter. The cluster of high-performing Nordic countries at the top of the World Happiness Report suggests that there are shared features of policy and perhaps geography and culture that matter. These are countries where high taxes are used to generate relatively equal societies, where social mobility and income security are much greater as a result.
That surprised me about the Nordic countries, like you say, with the lack of light. I would think like warmth and light would be one of the things, but then they're always like clear. Their sort of like atmosphere is quite clear and clean, doesn't it?
Yeah, I find it surprising because when you look at just one country that you live in, you wouldn't necessarily see that.
In any case, our research shows that a small number of things matter throughout the life course. So for example, fairness, autonomy, community and engagement. Although of course the details matter depending on the kind of culture that you're in and the stage of life that you're at.
get more from the Open University, check out the links on screen now.